Good afternoon. We are still continuing with our revision on WAEC past questions. Still on our WAEC past questions. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Comments are also welcome. The question says, give 5 reasons why pre-colonial government in Yoruba land can be described as democratic. 1. Selection of the Oba. The selection of the Oba is usually done by kingmakers representing various interests. The selection of the Oba is done by the kingmakers, and they have to put in consideration different sectors and interests in the community. Number 2, decision making. Decisions were not taken only by the Oba. He has to consult his chiefs for approval. The Oba has to make decisions in conjunction with his chiefs. He can't make decisions alone. That's one of the reasons why it is considered as democratic. 3. Laws made for the people could only be enforced if it has the approval or support of the Oba and the chiefs. Whatever laws will be made, whether at the district level or at the ward level or even at the township level, it must have the support of the Oba and the chiefs. 4. There was separation of powers. Executive power belonged to the Oba, while the chief exercised legislative power. And they can also, and then we have the Ogboni, who exercise the judicial functions. 5. The issue of checks and balances played a major role in enforcing order in the performance of the separated functions. Yes, they have separated functions, at the same time there are checks and balances. The Ogboni serve as a check on the power of the Oba, and also the Oyomesi can also check the powers of the Oba. 6. Removal of the Oba. The kingmakers, that's the Oyomesis, acting on the will of the people, can remove any Oba. Maybe the Oba has gone against the rules and regulation of the community, they are permitted to remove him. They can do that by presenting him with an empty calabash or a calabash with a parrot egg. This is just a symbol to show him that the people and the earth has rejected him, which just symbolizes that he should go and commit suicide. And they have to do this, the removal of the Oba has to be done by the Oyomesi with the approval of the Ogboni. Discuss 6 features of the traditional Yoruba political system. 1. Constitutional monarch. The Alaafin was a constitutional monarch who rules based on the customs and traditions of the people. That means the Alaafin cannot go against the customs and tradition of the people he is governing. 2. We have the Council of Chiefs. They are called the Oyomesi, and they are actually 7 in number. These are the 7 hereditary kingmakers and advisors of the Alaafin. The council was headed by, that is the Oyomesi, was headed by the Bashorun. They advised the Alaafin and formulated policies on important issues that touched on administration of the people of the kingdom. 3. We have tributes. There was an informal form of taxation. For example, tribute, which was paid in form of labor. It can be in form of commodities like yam, kola nut, animal, by subordinate towns to their paramount chiefs or paramount ruler. Then 4, we have checks and balances. There was a system of checks and balances within the political system. Don't forget that we said the Oyomesi can check the excesses of the Oba. The Ogboni can check the excesses of the Oba. The Ogboni can also check the excesses of the Oyomesi. Then we have 5, the secret society. That is the Ogboni. It was headed by the Oluwo. This fraternity was in charge of religious activities. The Ogboni also performed judicial functions. The Ogboni are also in charge of preservation of the culture and tradition of the people. Another feature is the army, that is the Esho. There was the existence of a standing army headed by the Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò, appointed by the Aláàfin subject to the approval of the Ọ̀yọ́mèsì. The Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò is not permitted to lose any battle, so they were usually given adequate time to prepare for every battle before they go for the battle. In a situation where the Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò should lose any battle, he is required to commit suicide. For those that cannot commit suicide, they will go on exile. They are not permitted to come back to the kingdom. 7. Hereditary. Rulership was hereditary, no fixed tenure of office. That means the tenure is for life. The death of an Aláàfin or an Ọba signals the end of the regime. 8. The Àrẹ̀mọ. The Àrẹ̀mọ is the first male child of the Ọba who assisted his father in the administration of the kingdom. The Àrẹ̀mọ now does not necessarily have to be the next Ọba. The next Ọba is chosen by the Ọ̀yọ́mèsì from the ruling families. Then we have 9. Village and ward heads. Each village was governed by a minor chief called Baale or Oloja. At the ward level, we have the Mogaji. These ones, they enforce and implement the king's directive and ensure that the peace reign within their own domain. The Baale and the Mogaji were mandated to bring annual tributes and dues to the Ọba. Identify any 6 functions of the Ọ̀yọ́mèsì in pre-colonial Oyo Empire. The Ọ̀yọ́mèsì. The Ọ̀yọ́mèsì are the kingmakers. 1. Selection of a new Ọba. The Ọ̀yọ́mèsì helps to select a new Aláàfin. Then we have 2. Initiation of laws. They help to initiate any laws made by the chiefs and also the Aláàfin. It is their job to make sure that the laws are initiated. We have 3. Removal of Ọba. They acted as checks on the powers of Ọba. For example, removal of Ọba from the office. In removing the Ọba from office, the Ọba must have done something that is against the customs and tradition of the people before they can actually be removed by the Ọ̀yọ́mèsì. Implementation of policies. They ensured the implementation of policies. Every policy is made by the Council of Chiefs and the Ọba. It is the Ọ̀yọ́mèsì, that's the Council of Chiefs, ensures that it is being executed and implemented. We have religious functions. They perform religious functions in conjunction with the Ogboni society. The Ọ̀yọ́mèsì are also involved in performing religious functions, rites, sacrifices, and the rest. Judicial function. They perform judicial function in the sense that they settle disputes and also punish offenders. 7. They assisted in the organization of youth for community development. We have the age grades, and these age grades are being used for communal development and to carry out policies of the council. Then we have 8. Advise the Ọba. The Ọ̀yọ́mèsì advise the Ọba on good governance. 9. Maintenance of law and order. They help in the maintenance of law and order within the community. Another question says, outline 5 functions performed by the Ogboni secret society in the pre-colonial Yoruba system. Please don't forget to give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe, and share. Number 1. Policy making. The Ogboni was involved in policy making process. The Ogboni, the secret society, they are involved in making any policy within the community. 2. They also serve as a check on the Aláàfin and Ọ̀yọ́mèsì. The Ogboni check the excesses of the Ọ̀yọ́mèsì so that they don't become too dictatorial. 3. They mediate between the Aláàfin and the Ọ̀yọ́mèsì. It was the duty of the Ogboni to mediate between the Alafin and the Oyomesi. In case of any conflict between the Alafin and the Oyomesi, the Ogboni society will come in order to mediate. We have judicial function. The Ogboni perform judicial functions, that is, they settle dispute, punish offenders, especially on cases involving spilling of blood. Preservation of cultural value. The Alafin preserve the cultural value and heritage of the people with the help of the Ogboni secret society. They are the custodian of the tradition of the people. The next point, final court of appeal. The Ogboni society serve as the final court of appeal in both civil and criminal cases. The last point says maintenance of law and order. They also help to maintain law and order within the community. Another question says, state 3 institutions in Yoruba pre-colonial system of administration. We have the royalty, that is the Afin, like the palace. The kingmakers, that is the Oyomesis. We have the court, that is the Ogboni society. We have the Osifa, Onifa, Osiefa, Oniefa, and Otuefa. Then we have the army, that is headed by the Are Ona Kakanfo. We know about the royalty, which is the Afin, the kingmakers, that is the Oyomesis. Don't forget, there are 7 in numbers. Then we have the court, that is the Ogboni society. Then we have the Osiefa. The Osiefa is known as popularly known as Abobaku. That is the Osiefa. He is responsible for political affairs and then traditionally expected to die with the Alafin. We have the Oniefa. The Oniefa now is the one in charge of performing religious duties for the Alafin. The next person, the Otuefa. The function of the Otuefa is to perform religious duties for the Alafin. And the last one, we know the army, they are the Eshos, headed by the Are Ona Kakanfo. Says, explain 4 checks and balances that existed in Yoruba pre-colonial political society. 1. We have oath of office, popularly called Ibura. The oath served as a moral and legal obligation, helping to ensure that chiefs acted in accordance with the established norms and values, and therefore minimized the risk of corruption and misuse of power. The other point says the traditional 3 arms of government. We have the Oba, we have the Oyomesi, we have the Ogboni society. The 3 of them checked each other. These 3 arms of government, they have different roles, must also check each other. For example, the Oyomesi and Ogboni could challenge or question the actions of the Oba that is regarded as unconstitutional, that is against the customs and tradition of the people. And their combined authority ensures that no single body can dominate the governance process. Another point says impeachment stroke dethronement. Chiefs and rulers can be impeached or dethroned if they were deemed to have failed in their duties or abused their power. The process for removing a ruler involves several consultations and in some cases a formal decision by the Ogboni and the Oyomesi. 4. We have the Oreku, the Ifa. The Oreku, called the Ifa, played a significant role in Yoruba governance. It was used for divination, to provide guidance on important duties and to predict potential outcomes. The advice given by the oracle was highly respected and often influenced major decisions and policies. Yes, major decisions and policies are influenced by the oracle. By the time they consult the oracle, whatever the oracle says is usually what they abide by. Then we have the occultic calabash, Igba Iwa. This was also used to check abuse of power. The presence of such symbolic objects serve as a deterrent against corruption and misuse of authority, as leaders know that their action could be exposed and judged by spiritual means. Because of this, is a way of checking the excesses of any oba or chiefs. Continuation of checks and balances question. We have 6. Taboo. Yes, there's the use of taboo. They call it a war. There are a lot of taboos in Yoruba land. These taboos is help to check different excesses, to check different excesses of the chiefs. These taboos, they are used to control the traditional rulers, chiefs, and even the people. We have a lot. For example, the king is not allowed to look into his royal crown. He can wear the crown, but is not allowed to look into it. Another taboo in Yoruba land is apart from when they want to dethrone a king and is being asked to commit suicide. Committing suicide is a serious offense in Yoruba land. Is a taboo, is an abomination. Such an individual will be thrown into the evil forest. So a whole lot of taboos like that. Let's go to the next point. We have boycott or chief's refusal to go to the palace. If the Oba has done something against the customs and tradition of the people, the chiefs can show their grievances by boycotting going to the palace for any discussion. That's a way to check the Oba. 8. We have rebellion, uprising, demonstration. Yes, that's a form of demonstration. It can a protest. It can either be peaceful or otherwise. Then we have 9. Suicide. The usually when they want to dethrone an Alaafin, don't forget we said the tenure of office for an Oba is for life. So one Oba has to die before they can enthrone another. In dethroning an Alaafin, when they give that Alaafin an empty calabash, they are just telling him to commit suicide. Or they give him an empty calabash with the parrot egg, it still symbolizes the same thing. Then we have 10. We have exile stroke banishment. Yes, that's also a way of checking the excesses of rulers and people in Yoruba lands. A form of check and balances. They'll be sent out of the town. Just the way the question is different. How the people govern themselves. How the colonial rulers control, traditional rulers control their subjects. This one says how the people of any British West African territory govern themselves. So we have 1. Customs and tradition. Now looking at it, there's slight difference between the two questions. The slight difference is that the first one has to do with traditional rulers, how the traditional rulers control their subjects. This one is now saying how did the people of British West Africa govern themselves before the advent of colonial rule, talking about the administrative structure. We have 1. Customs and tradition. The people were governed by customs, their rules and their norms. Every African society has their own customs and tradition. Then we have the paramount chiefs. The paramount chiefs are the apex of the administration. The paramount chiefs like the Alaafin for your paramount chiefs like the emirs. Then we have another point, chiefs and council of elders. Yes, the chiefs like the Oyomesi, the kingmakers in Yoruba land, the council of elders in the Igbo pre-colonial society. Then we have the age grades. The age grades are executed laws. The age grades were also important. The next point says no separation of powers. The traditional rulers and elders exercised legislative, executive, and judicial powers. There was no separation of powers. Usually, you find out that these functions are fused. It's only in few cases that you find separation of powers. Okay, we have a little separation of power, but most time the functions are fused in pre-colonial Nigerian society. Then we have queen mother and female chiefs. We have the queen mother, we have the palace women, we have the female chiefs. Yes, like the we talked about the Omuada, we talked about we have the yellow days and the rest. So this one help in settling dispute among women and can also advise chiefs on issues pertaining to the women in the community. Then we have the commoners. These ones also perform important roles. For example, manual labor for community development and defense. The next point says tributes and taxes. Revenues were raised through tributes and taxes generated from the people. Next question says, what were the roles of traditional rulers in pre-colonial era? That is, what were the functions of traditional rulers in pre-colonial era? We have one, they serve as the link between the people and their ancestors. That's the belief, that they are the go-between, they are the intermediary between the people and the gods and their ancestors. 2, they appointed subordinate chiefs. Traditional rulers they are allowed to confer titles on people and also appoint chiefs, subject to the approval of the Yoruba society, subject to the approval of the Ogboni. But in the Hausa pre-colonial society, where the emir is an absolute monarch, he appoints his chiefs. We have maintenance of law and order. They mobilize their subjects, especially the able-bodied youth, to keep law and order. They mobilize usually the age grades to keep laws and order. Next point says preservation of native laws and customs. They ensure that the cherished customs and traditions of the people are preserved and promoted. The traditional rulers are the custodian of the custom and tradition of the people, and it's their function to make sure it's being preserved. Administration of justice. Traditional rulers interpreted customary norms and convention and passed judgment. They settle disputes and punish offenders. Community development. They mobilize and organize their subjects towards community development. Then we have recruitment of able-bodied men for war in defense of their territory. Most of them have a standing army. For Yoruba pre-colonial, the Esho, headed by the Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò. For the Hausa, we have the army headed by the Madawaki. For the Igbo pre-colonial society, the young men, the age grade, serves as the army to defend the community. Next point says they perform religious function. The traditional rulers perform religious function in pre-colonial era. Next point says they collected tributes and taxes. The traditional rulers collect tributes and taxes from their subjects. They allocate community resources. For example, land. The traditional ruler is in charge of allocating land. They can give it as a gift. They can allocate it for, use it for some time. It's up to them to decide how to allocate it. And that point says they maintain external links with other communities. They are the one in charge of foreign relations with other communities. The next point says they make law, rules and regulation. The traditional ruler in pre-colonial Nigeria makes law and rules and regulation by which citizens of the community abide by. The last point says they confer honors on deserving citizens. They give titles, different titles on deserving citizens. The next point, in what 5 ways can pre-colonial traditional political organization and governance in Nigeria compare with modern day political arrangements? Number 1, we have leadership, structure and authority. This question now is just asking us, trying to test our knowledge about pre-colonial traditional Nigerian society and what we have in the present day Nigerian society. So it's like weighing the two side by side. Number one, we have leadership structure and authority. In pre-colonial era, leadership were largely monarchical. Monarchical in the sense that the rulers were chosen through hereditary succession or selection by king makers. Whereas in modern day political arrangement, leadership is democratic, which means that leaders are elected through popular vote based on universal suffrage. That's universal adult suffrage. The president, governors, lawmakers are accountable to the electorate. The next point says legislative and lawmaking process. In the pre-colonial era, laws were made by traditional councils such as the Oyomesi in the Oyo Empire, the Council of Elders in Igbo society, and the Emir makes law in the Hausa pre-colonial society. These laws were based on customs, religions, and oral traditions. Whereas in modern era, laws were made by formal legislative body like the National Assembly, the State House of Assembly, through a structured process that includes debate, bills, presidential and gubernatorial assent. If you remember your process of making law, that is turning a bill into a law, you remember that at the end the president or governor must sign the bill into law. That's the assent that we're talking about. Then we have the next one, says judicial system and administration of justice. Pre-colonial era, justice were administered by traditional rulers who settled disputes using customary laws, arbitration, and mediation. Punishment were based on traditional norms and taboos. But in modern era, Nigeria now has a formal judicial system with constitutional laws, courts, and legal practitioners. Justice is administered through the different courts that we have, like Magistrate Court, High Court, Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, and the rest, ensuring that legal processes are standardized. And we also have the use of the Constitution. The next point says participation of citizens in governance. In pre-colonial era, participation is usually limited to the elders, the chiefs, the council member. In some society like the Igbo, decision making is inclusive, but women and young people have limited roles in governance. In the modern era, so the Nigerian constitution guarantees political participation for all citizens, including women, youth, and marginalized groups, through voting, activism, and representation in governance. That is, in modern political arrangements, political participation is more than in pre-colonial political organization. The last point says taxation and revenue generation. In the pre-colonial era, traditional rulers collect tax in form of tributes, labor service, or farm produce. The system was largely informal but enforced through cultural obligations. It's part of the customs and tradition of the people, especially for the Yoruba and the Hausa. They are used to it. Then let's look at the modern era. Government collects formal taxes. We have income tax, value added tax, custom duties to fund national development. And the process is regulated by tax laws and financial institutions. And usually what you give them is the legal tender, which is money. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe, share,